Hello, my learned friends and ace attorneys and writers and whatever else. We are back with more of The Great Ace Attorney, starting episode 2, The Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro. I still can't pronounce words. My voice is a little gone, but Ace Attorney waits for no one. So here we are. Ooh.
It was a ghastly tale of a winter's night. One of an invisible killer and a crime perpetrated on the pavement along Briar Road.
Didn't we already talk about this?
As the victim lay at death's door, the mystery of just who had stabbed the young lady from behind had been resolved.
Yeah, okay.
But no sooner had my friend saved that Eastern Exchange student from his harrowing plight than in the dim, flickering shadows of gaslight did a second bizarre crime rend the stillness of that very night. I dare say most can still recall the sensational headlines of the day. Haunted apartment of death, the condemned criminal's curse, the dread demon of coal gas.
Oh, this is the one they wouldn't talk about.
Yet, though the great detective had at once discerned the truth upon his arrival at the scene, it only proved to be the overture that announced the rising of the curtain on a most tragic play.
That was very dramatic, sir. But okay, if you say so. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhiro. I'm a fledgling lawyer, just starting out on my journey. 6 months ago, I arrived as a visiting student of law. Having made the long voyage across the sea from the Empire of Japan to here, London, England. And on the way, in quite extraordinary circumstances, I made the acquaintance of a world-famous detective. My home! Currently, I reside in the attic of the detective's own lodgings, from where I run my legal consultancy of sorts. I've successfully defended a number of clients in Britain's highest court, the Old Bailey. But since a particularly grueling and unforgettable legal battle 4 months ago now, I haven't returned to the courtroom. In truth, I lost my right to return. Oh, that's right! I forgot about all that. But that epic trial was just one small part of an epic tale. A tale which was now about to awaken from slumber. Thanks to a letter that arrived this morning from my homeland. Is that me? What a delicious smell wafting up the stairs. Must be nearly time for breakfast. I better go down to Mr. Sholmes' suite and say good morning to the great detective and his flatmate. Bro, what's in that letter? Oh, I know what's in that letter. It literally came from my friend. But still, like, help a girl out. Okay, fine. Ah, Bruno, good. I was just about to call up too. The bacon's ready. Good morning, Iris. It smells delicious as usual. Before we eat, though, I have some news. Shh, not another word, Mr. Naruto. This could be just the abstruse thing. From my pre-breakfast stagnation-repelling mental stimulation, my dear fellow. Morning to you too, Mr. Sholmes. Yes, he's Herlock Sholmes. Yes, I see. So that's it. I'm not used to seeing without the crazy glasses. This is so weird. The truth is as clear to me as day. My faculties of observation have revealed it again. What are you talking about? You, Mr. Naruhiro. You at the vet this very morning met with a surprise. Well, is that not the case? Really, my dear fellow, it barely warrants explanation. Firstly, your hair is particularly unkempt, somewhat reminiscent of a bird's nest. Secondly, you have neglected to fasten the third button of your jacket. Clearly, when considered together, these two facts point to you having been flustered this morning. Can I talk now? They're so feisty. But of course. Though I don't look for admiration, you understand. My hair always looks like this. It's been this way since I first met you. Oh, it has? And the button was ripped off last night, if you remember. By you. Allie pulled out your button off. Oh, yes, I recall the incident now. It was after supper, was it not? As the evening advanced, I picked up my violin and began to play the wailing notes of a haunting tune. But then, to my utter dismay, the third string snapped. Why did it have to happen? Why? Little wonder then, in my vexation, I grabbed the first button I saw and ripped it from its proper place. Well, I'd like it back now, please. It's troubling me that I can't fasten my jacket. It's troubling me that you expect me to know where it is. Somewhere thereabouts on the floor, one presumes. Helpful. What matters at the present time, my dear fellow, is simply whether or not my deduction was unerring. But early, Bruno said it when he came in, didn't he? I had a surprise this morning. Yeah, didn't I? Well, that really is a surprise. Yes, this man is the pride of the British Empire. The famous consulting detective, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. There can't be a single person in the world who doesn't know his name. Alright then, enough of this silly conversation. Come and eat this bacon before it goes cold. And I have a new herbal tea for you to try too. My latest special blend. And here we have Iris Wilson, Mr. Sholmes' lodger and companion. A truly exceptional young girl, who's the author of a highly successful serialization here in London. Yes, The Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes is published in Rand's magazine. So, Mr. Naruto, won't you put us out of our misery? What surprised you this fine morning? I received a letter from Japan. Can I look at it? I wanted to beat them to it. Oh, from Susie, you mean? Was it, really? That's right, and she had some rather startling news, in fact. Intriguing indeed. You must tell us about it over breakfast. Oh yes, what fun! This is the letter that arrived from Japan this morning, by international post. Oh, how lovely! Look at Susie's beautiful writing. I wish I could read it. And how is your judicial assistant faring, may I ask? She's very well, thank you. In fact, according to what she's written, she actually appeared as a lawyer at the Japanese Supreme Court and won a case. Ah, really? Oh, isn't she wonderful? A cut above your good self, my dear fellow. I've won cases too, you know. Apparently, Mr. Natsume appeared in the trial as a witness. Natsume. No, I don't recall that name. Of course you do. We helped the man twice. You know, in those 2 cases that took place on Briar Road 6 months ago. Ah, the mustache twitchy man with somewhat feline eyes and the mustache. He didn't have 2 mustaches early. Yes, who could forget those 2 cases? They made a very deep impression on me. Although I must confess the details are a little hazy now. A very deep impression they made on you, clearly. So, what was this startling news penned by Miss Susato? Do you remember the case of the haunted lodgings, Mr. Sholmes? Ah, yes, it's very interesting, you know. I don't feel entirely uncertain that a case of that nature did not occur. He's totally forgotten then. Anyway, in her letter, Miss Susato asked, Susato, it's Susato, isn't it? Oh, whatever. It's Susato now. It's, you know, it's Italian now. Asked that we read over her case notes again and investigate further. Though it took place half a year ago. For what purpose? Because of something that Mr. Natsume said to her, apparently. He suggested that the real reason why she was called back to Japan so suddenly might have something to do with that case of the haunted lodgings. Oh? On Mr. Natsume's return to Japan, Mr. Sato's father questioned him about the case, she says. And something Mr. Natsume said apparently appeared to trouble Professor Mikotoba, prompting him to send that telegram. Oh, that case, yes. It was very strange, wasn't it? Yes. And I had compiled the whole story to a nice neat manuscript ready for publication too. But then earlier was all funny about it, remember? He was very mean. That story must not be published, you said, very mysteriously as well. Really? I said that. Are you sure? Do you perhaps know something about it as well, Mr. Sholmes? About why Miss Susato was suddenly told 4 months ago that she had to return to Japan? It's been 4 months now since we waved Susie off at Dover. It was such a shock, wasn't it? The way she was just suddenly announced that she had to go back to Japan. Indeed it was, due to a telegram she received from her homeland, I believe. That's right, telling her to return urgently. Yes, because her father had passed away. No, it just said he was suffering from high fever, the cause of which was unknown. He's not dead. But according to this letter, that news about her father's fever was just a ruse. A ruse? So Susie's daddy lied to her that she'd make the voyage back home? Why would he do that? I have to admit I have absolutely no idea. But she believes it's almost certainly related to the case of the haunted lodgings. Summoning her back to Japan so suddenly like that. I wonder what Miss Susato's father is hiding. I think I've been pronouncing it wrong this whole time. I was pronouncing it like it was Italian. Susato. Whatever. Hallie, do you know what it's all about? Suspicious. Ah, well, who can say? What? But you said... Please, I have engagements, my dear fellow. My calendar is quite surprisingly full today. And a stringent analysis of the matter would be excessive, I feel, even if I were quite at leisure. So, man the fortune in my absence, won't you, Iris? I will, Ellie. Don't worry. See you later. That's suspicious. He scuttled off rather quickly there. Uh-huh. I think perhaps Professor Mikotoba isn't the only person hiding something here. Soseki-san was involved in 2 cases, but only one of them was forbidden from being published. By, of all people, Mr. Sholmes. Ah! I found them at last! Iris, are they... The notes about the case, that's right. Susie and I compiled them together. Are we gonna go back and play it? The case of the haunted lodgings? Do you want to read them? Absolutely. Thank you, Iris. I have no idea what secrets could still be hiding in the shadows of this case. But perhaps if I read over the notes again, something might come to light. That's a spirit! We're gonna go back in time and play it? And so, Iris and I decided to read over the case notes again together. Everything from what happened to our investigation and that fierce battle in the court that followed. Reliving every detail, I just need to find a clue, and I have all the time in the world, because of the course. I'm no longer allowed to practice law in the courts of Great Britain. Yeah. Oh, that's so smart, because we're not allowed to practice law, so we're gonna go back and play an old case. That's so ingenious. Okay. Good job, writers. Alright. It was 6 months ago, a mysterious incident that unfolded on the wintry streets of London. Yeah, this case. A young woman was found lying in the snowy pavement on Briar Road with a knife in her back. Fortunately, her life was spared, but she was unconscious for several days following the incident. The fog was thick and nobody saw her attacker, but by a cruel twist of fate, a visiting Japanese student was walking behind her at the time and was duly arrested. That man was Soseki-san, and the man who effected his arrest was Mr. Sholmes. Believing in our compatriot's innocence, Susato-san and I decided to represent Soseki-san in court. And After a grueling trial of many twists and turns, we finally managed to prove his innocence. I'm so excited. Joyful, joyous, jubilant, jubilation! Was the man's reaction after the trial, but his jubilant jubilation was short-lived. He got accused again. We received a telegram from Mr. Sholmes the following morning. The victim of the Briar Road stabbing has regained consciousness. Hurry to the box at once! Ah! So Susuro-san and I summoned a hansom and headed immediately to the hospital. I'm easily distracted. There you are at last! Good morning, Mr. Sholmes. I think not. Oh? You're late! What on earth took you so long? Your telegram only arrived at 5 o'clock, Mr. Sholmes, and it's a 20-minute ride to the hospital. That's right, and it's 5:30 now. I think we made very good time. The time is utterly irrelevant, and the fact is, I have been waiting for what felt like an eternity. In the point of fact, I myself awoken at 4 this morning by a telegram, boy, and feeling it was somewhat unjust that I alone had roused at such an hour, I sent one to you. Well, thanks for that. Anyway, you're here now, so the victim is over there. She's only just regained consciousness. She's so cute. You should introduce yourselves, and I shall observe from here. So that's the lady who was found in the snow-covered pavement with a knife in her back. Her name is... yes, here we are. Miss Green. How did I forget my voice for Susuro already? Oh, whatever. Okay, let's talk. What's up, man? Good morning. She's so cute. Hello, I'm her Ryunosuke Naruhodo from the Empire of Japan. Oh no! Was it your knife that... Are you the man who... No, I'm a lawyer. And I'm Susuro Mikitoba. Pleased to meet you. Oh no, was it your knife then? Are you the one... Oh no, I assure you. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant. We heard that you regained consciousness and wanted to come to give you our best wishes. Best wishes? For me? Thank you. I don't know what to give you. I have too many accents. I'm Olive. Olive Green. I'm an artist. Well, no, that's not right, is it? What I meant to say is I'm trying to be an artist. Well, what I really mean is I desperately want to be an artist. But the truth is, I don't have any talent. I know I don't. It's no wonder I was stabbed in the back. I don't think that's related, actually. Gosh, this young woman seems to bend over backwards to put herself down. Seeing as we're here, we should ask her about what happened from her perspective, I suppose. To suddenly be struck in the back by a blade as you were walking along the pavement. What a terrible experience you had, Miss Green. It was so cold that day, and the fog was so thick, I couldn't see a thing. That was 4 days ago now, I think. Is that right? Yes, that's right. I'm afraid you've been comatose all that time. But the case has been solved, hasn't it? Well, I've been here in the hospital, I mean. Indeed it has, my dear madame. Spectacularly by none other than I, Herlock Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, as you well know, it was Mr. Naruhodo's hard work in court that solved the case. Are you yet to hear what happened, Miss Green? Yes, I'm afraid so. A gentleman from the police force is supposed to be coming to fill me in shortly. Oh, I see. Me coming round seems to have made everyone frantically busy. I'm so sorry. I should never have regained consciousness. It was selfish of me. Oh no! We're also relieved that you're on the mend, Miss Green. Really, we are. With that kind of attitude, maybe her surname should be Blue, not Green. Alright. So, you're an artist, are you, Miss Green? Oh no, I couldn't possibly claim that. I'm a fledgling artist at best. I mean, I'm a student of art, really, at Thorndike Academy of Fine Arts. Oh my, an Academy of Fine Arts? Great Britain is such a wonderful country. Tell me, Miss Green, do you live hereabouts? Oh no, actually, I don't deserve it, but I have a little flat in Brixton Road. What is wrong with her? I see. How very interesting. Oh no, is it? Brixton is some 10 stops away in the underground from here, and Thorndike Academy is a mere 3-minute walk from Brixton town centre. Does that matter, Mr. Sholmes? Perhaps not, but Briar Road is far less a salubrious part of town by comparison, dwelt in by those inferior means, including the maleficent of Mr. Mustachio. Inferior means? I suppose Sosuke-san does fit the bill. It struck me as somewhat out of ordinary for young fine art students to be walking in such a district. That's all. What's this? She's suddenly clammed up. Mr. Sholmes, you should be ashamed of yourself prying into a young maiden's private affairs. Oh dear me, do forgive me. If you don't mind. I'm being discharged shortly, so I need to pack up my things. Oh yes, of course. We won't keep you. Thank you so much, Miss Green. Ah! A mouse, Mr. Naruhodo! An enormous mouse! Vermin in a hospital? That doesn't seem the best. But it looks like a very healthy specimen, doesn't it? It's very plump. I'm not sure we can say that it's down to the excellence of this facility, if that's what you were thinking. Ah, this looks like the treatment notes for whoever's occupying this bed. Do not permit to run around the hospital. The patient doesn't seem to be here at the moment, so he or she is probably running around the hospital then. Oh dear, how worrying. What's worrying is why they haven't discharged the patient yet. Ah, this looks like the patient's treatment notes. Do not feed. What is this place, a zoo? You know, I seem to remember seeing an almost identical sign in our local park. For the pigeons, yes. This is a person. Poor woman, I hope she hasn't read this. Bro, they're so mean. This rounded wooden figure isn't the most charming, is it? Ah, I don't think that's a decoration, Mr. Naruhodo. It's an artist's mannequin, I believe. Used when practicing sketching the human form in different poses. Really? It's not exactly what you call a typical figure. Oh my gosh! Stop! No, I suppose not. I confess I've never seen one quite as full figure. She did one for herself! Calm down, children. Oh my gosh. Well, if you want to draw a full figure person, it's the right tool for the job. Broski. What's that? Look, there's a photograph in this frame here. Oh yes, it's a picture of a young gentleman. He looks to be about the same age as Miss Green, I would say. Does she have a crush on him? Perhaps the young woman's special someone, do you think? My, Mr. Naruhodo. I didn't know you had a sense for matters of the heart. Not in the least. I sincerely said the first thing I thought of. Is there a Mr. Narrowfodder here? Mr. Narrowfodder! Narrowfodder, no. Well, if you're looking for Mr. Naruhodo, I can't. The lawyer, that's me, but... Ah, Mr. Narrowfodder, good. This is for you. This is a message from Mr. Saucy Nutmeg. Mr. Natsume sent a message to me? But why would a policeman be delivering a message from Mr. Natsume? Exactly. What's going on? What's the Scotland Yard constable doing playing delivery boy at this time in the morning? Ugh! What are you waiting for? Let me see that. Oh. Well, this is most unexpected. Is something wrong, Mr. Sholmes? Is something wrong, Mr. Sholmes, he says. Have you not seen this note? No, how could I have? He stresses me out. It would seem that London's criminals have no intention of letting the great detective rest. A new case calls, a case of murder no less. We must depart at once. Murder? Call a cab. Time is of the essence. But the trouble is, we've yet to read Mr. Natsume's note. I was thinking we ought to pay him a visit in his lodgings once we did. That would be entirely convenient. Convenient? What do you mean? It's all here in the note, my dear fellows. The murder we must investigate took place at Mr. Mustache's lodgings. Wait, what? Oh, hello. I don't know what that says, but okay. Did he get accused again? I guess he did. He was involved in 2 cases, but it was only yesterday that Suki-san was in court and we were dispelling doubts about his innocence. And now, the very next day, there's a murder at the man's own address. He may very well be the unluckiest man alive. Or it so seemed to us at the time, but we were soon to discover it was worse than we thought. Is it now? I'm scared. What's going on? February 21st, 7/18. Oh, that's the dude we ran into! What on earth? I remember him. Oh my! The gentleman is deceased, without question. He's dead. The locum student, Mr. Naruto, Esquire. Mr. Natsume. Oh, why? Why is this happening? Why to me? Sorry, I can't hear anything. There we go. I've only just gotten out of court yesterday. I was finally home after 2 days of misery. And then I wake up the next day to this. No early bird should catch a worm like this. Woeful worm without wiggle. I see you're in high spirits again this morning, Mr. Mustache. Ah! Not the horrible Herlock Sholmes. Shoo! Shove off! Show yourself the door. I never invited you. Mr. Sholmes came here with us. I'm quite sure he'll be able to help you, Mr. Natsume. I am entirely at your disposal, Mr. Mustache. What can I do for you? Oh. Here they are already, the busybodies. Oh wait, I forgot he's Irish. He's not Irish, but I made him Irish. Ah, Inspector Gregson, what a pleasant surprise. Pleasant, is it? Gives me heartburn every time I see your face at the crime scene, Sholmes. Huh. Huh! I deduce, Inspector, that your heartburn is a result of your excessive consumption of fried food. Good morning, Inspector. This is a crime scene. Don't you go touching anything. Or good morning to you too, Sunshine. Alright, let's talk to you, I guess. So, Inspector, what was the victim's name? Who was he? Miss... No! Mr. William Shakespeare. He was a lodger here. As you can probably tell, he was an actor. Bit of a dead looks as it happens, or just did. Mr. Shakespeare. It was the landlord, Miss Old Garrett up in the other lodger, Mr. Shakespeare found him. Fell at it right as usual hour, so Garrett got red and kicked the door down. I've lost his accent, it's gone. But doesn't Mr. Garrett have a bad leg? I'm sorry, oh yes, you're right there. It was a legendary Japanese hunchback over there who actually did the kicking. Really? Sokusi-san? The victim was pretty hard up, it seems. Even done some time inside for petty crimes. He had no money, no place to go, and no friends. His only acquaintances were the people in this house. Miserable life and a miserable end to it. So, what exactly is Mr. Natsume still doing here? He's not involved in the investigation, so shouldn't you have sent him away from the crime scene? Well, I'm not saying it's because the fellow looks odd or anything, or that he acts suspicious. But I thought it would be prudent to take a test statement from the cohabitor. You nearly said culprit there, didn't you? Oh dear. Mr. Natsume appears to be under suspicion again. It certainly seems that way. He does just come across as such an odd fellow, doesn't he? Poor man. How unfortunate. Anyway, I can't say much until the coroner gets here. But I don't think the fellow's been gone that long. The body's still warm. Even if the inspector would allow it, I don't think I could bring myself to touch a dead body. How are you? I said hands off. You're gonna mess up the crime scene. Oh, just wanted to look, that's all. No chance. I know you're kind. You'll mess up just by looking at it. Ugh, someone's in a bad mood. Alright, there's certainly some bad air in here, isn't there? Alright, it sounds like I'd better talk to the inspector first. Yep. What a terrible thing to have happened. It's only been 3 days since I was arrested for the incident on the pavement outside. And then having finally regained my freedom, it starts happening all over again. Endless existence of excruciating experiences. So the victim lived here on the ground floor, and your room is just one story up, isn't it? Yes, that's right. In a way, we were neighbors, I suppose. Did you know the victim? Were you friends? What's the matter with Sosuke-san now? It was an innocent enough question, wasn't it? Why does he seem so shaken by it? Well, I suppose he wasn't a complete stranger. But did he ever invite me to his room? Never! On my honor, I swear it! What an extreme reaction. You're probably wishing you'd never asked how. Now, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? When we found him here, I felt wretched, which is why I sent word asking you to come. Through that inspector over there! What you doing there, Sholmes? Are we doing an investigation? Deduction. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? Ha! You need only observe it, my dear fellow. Investigating, naturally. There's nothing natural about that pose. Mr. Sholmes, have you made some miraculous discovery? Patience, my dear madame, patience. We've not been here in this room for 5 minutes. So far, I've managed to deduce is what actually happened. My goodness! But isn't that everything we need to know, Mr. Sholmes? Now that you've proposed the idea, I believe one could indeed see it that way. At the present time, I've managed to draw 2 incontrovertible conclusions. The first, that there was a physical struggle here last night in which the victim fought for his life. Ah! Ah! Mr. Natsume, what's wrong? Is something that Mr. Sholmes said significant somehow? No, don't mind me. Forget I was here. And my second conclusion is that there was a poison lingering in the air here last night that passed the victim's lips. No, nonsense! Ah! Bro. Alright, Mr. Natsume. Why are you reacting so extremely to Mr. Sholmes' deductions? No, please. Pretend I'm not here. Invisible. Ineffable. Inscrutable. Insignificant. I don't know why he cracks me up so much. It's so stupid. Impossible to ignore. You must tell us everything, Mr. Sholmes. Spare no detail. But of course. Let the theatrical tragedy before us be unraveled by my great deductions presented for your pleasure in 2 acts. We've heard some truly astounding great deductions from Mr. Sholmes in the past. No doubt this will be no exception. What miracles will unfold before our eyes this time? So, my dear fellows, for your delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. For Herlock Sholmes is logical and reasoning spectacular. Act 1. Alright. The game is afoot! Topic 1. Cause of death. Careful observation of the victim reveals to us the events that transpired in this disconsolate room last night. Foam at the mouth of the deceased clearly indicates the use of poison. Next to the victim, we noticed a large dining plate, which contains, you will observe, 1/2 of a sizable bar of soap. Meaningful, indubitably. Why is this soap set so purposely upon the dish? Like the victim's last supper, in fact, yes. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the fork reveals the answer. It appears that the young man's appetite was his undoing. Taking up in arms and the forms of his cutlery, the victim engaged in a deadly battle for his life. Is he gonna say he ate a bar of soap? Yet the struggle against his hunger was in vain, for in the end he could resist devouring the slippery feast. But London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plate. The soap and the lather about the young man's mouth are too perfectly matched to ignore. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to excessive ingestion of foul soap. Now, personally, I have a greater interest in the taste of foul candle wax, of course. Okay, Shums. Okay. Yeah, sure. The cause of death identified, we proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was this a case of suicide or murder? The audience will recall that death occurred during the victim's last supper. Did the man dine and die alone? This single teacup suggests the answer. To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. The careful criminal could have absconded with his own cup to cover his tracks. Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock. Though forced open now, at the time of the incident, this door was locked. And the sole key was in the victim's pocket. In other words, when the victim consumed the poison, he must have been alone. Alone with his inferior soap, from whence wafted an inferior scent. And without a cream aroma lingering in the air, the victim met his end in tragic solitude. We can take comfort in only the fact that his soul was well cleansed on his way to the hereafter. No possible perpetrator present. You know, let's stick with this story. I like it. Thus concludes the final act of Sherlock Holmes' great deduction. You know what? At least this time you didn't say that there was a mysterious tiger. There's just one thing, Mr. Sholmes. You are disposed to identifying just one thing, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Pray, what concerns you? Well, no matter how hungry he was, do you really think the man would have eaten soap? It was quite apparent that this man had barely a penny to his name. It is a curious thing, but to one so destitute, soap can suddenly appear quite irresistibly appetizing. Have you tried it? How extraordinary! In truth, I've tried a little soap myself in the past. How did I know? You've eaten it, you mean? My dear fellow, it was some time ago now. My postulation was that it would cleanse my gut. And did it? As I breathed in agony on the floor and spilt the contents in my stomach, yes, I believe it did. The experience taught me a valuable lesson. Soap is quite poisonous. It has an unpleasant taste and leads to great discomfort. In summary, I cannot recommend it. Believe me, I wouldn't eat it even if you did. Alright. There's something that troubles me as well, actually. Oh, what's that? It's Mr. Natsume. I couldn't help noticing him shuddering and quivering out of the corner of my eye. Almost as if Mr. Sholmes' seductions touched a nerve somehow. Nonsense! Well, that clenched teeth episode didn't last. I think, judging by Mr. Natsume's reaction, the great detective's deductions may need some gentle corrections in order to reach the actual truth. Yes, Mr. Sholmes' observations and deductions are sometimes a little too sharp. He has a tendency to hit the nail on the side of the head and drive it into at an obtuse angle. When he does that, it falls to us to straighten things out. Alright then, let's see what we can do. Yes, we must pick out the key words in Mr. Sholmes' quite brilliant deductions, and discreetly exchange them for something that makes a little more sense. If we can do that, I'm sure we'll arrive at what Mr. Sholmes meant to say in the first place. In that case, are you ready for the second performance of the day? Once again, my dear fellows, for your continued delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. For Herlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1. Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes! Alright. Let's see. Conversation. Yeah. Okay, foam with the mouth. Use the poison. It's the teacup. The fork? I think it's the cup. Well, you can't deny that a fork implies the man was eating something, or about to eat something. Yes, that's true. If I were to decide to eat some soap, I should prefer to use a fork than to attempt it with chopsticks. And of course, only half of the bar of soap is left on the plate. But might there not be some other explanation? Something material that proves whether or not the man really ate some soap? Let's observe the teacup. Do you think he was drinking tea with the soap? The cup's empty, so there's no way of knowing. Ah, how about this for an idea? Perhaps the cup was full of water, and he was dissolving soap in it so he could gulp down as much as possible. What? Can we move away from the soap? Please remember that he may not have actually been the soap lover that he's made out to be. There's the other half on the ground. There's the other half. Let's see. Look, there's one more soap on the floor here. Mr. Shamspeare must really have loved this stuff. Let's not jump to conclusions, Mr. Naruhodo. Look closely at this soap. Do you see that it would fit together perfectly with that half bar on the table? What the? How can that be? I think that they are two halves of the same bar that broke apart. Okay.
Take that!
He has so much fun. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the other piece of soap reveals the answer. It being the other half of the soap on the table, in short, the victim was not eating soap at all. But it's obvious, really, for no depths of hunger could drive any man to attempt to eat soap. I can't with it, bro. Even I, with my unquenchable thirst for practical knowledge, took only a single bite. But that begs the question of how the man was poisoned, because there's no sign of any food on the table. An excellent observation, Mr. Naruhodo, and one that furnishes us with the answer we seek. For London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by the poison that tainted the contents of the plate. Mr. Sholmes is still pushing the soap argument, then. Perhaps he's suggesting the man licked the soap rather than ate it. If soap in London is that poisonous, I don't think I would be washing my hands with it. There are no signs of food. Of course, food isn't the only thing that passes people's lips, is it? That was easy. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the teacup. Indeed, cups have the vessel of choice for practicing poisoners over the country. Over the century. What did I just read? That was not correct. It would appear that the victim drank every last drop. There's no sign of food anywhere in this room. Which leads us to the immutable conclusion. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to the ingestion of poison contained in this teacup. Cool. The cause of death. Blah, 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 blah. Was this okay? We talked about that. The audience will recall the death occurring the victim's last supper. Did the man dine and die alone? The single teacup suggests the answer. Ah, the Western vessel for infused hot drinks again. It's already featured heavily in our deduction so far. Yes, we can imagine this shortly before his death. Mr. Shamsphere was having a drink of tea. There would be nothing remarkable about that, but what troubles me is Mr. Nutsmay's reaction when he heard Mr. Sholmes suggest it. There's more to this deduction than it seems. We must closely examine the scene of the crime again.
Take that!
Big brain. Did the man dine and die alone? This other teacup suggests the answer. Yes, there were 2 teacups in this room all along. Ah, in other words, this is a strong indication of the victim's last supper. There was a guest present. At the very least, we can say now with certainty that somebody else was here in this room last night, taking tea with the victim. Oh, what are you talking about? Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly, unreasonable. To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. In which case, what more we deduce about this possible guest at the table? Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Do you mean to say you know who exactly was in the room at this time of the victim's death? Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock. I'm not sure I like where this deduction is going now. I'm afraid it's too late to go back to the Halkins days of eating too much soup. But the identity of the guest who was here last night when the victim passed away is something I have a very bad feeling about. Well, you can try to ignore your feelings, but we cannot ignore the truth, Mr. Naruhodo. No, I suppose not. Time to look around again. It's empty. Empty of liquid, but full of air. That makes you think, doesn't it? It makes me think that you're full of hot air. We should be thinking about who else was in the room at the time. Bother, Susato-san's quip in response was cleverer than my original riddle. At first glance, it seems that the only things in this room are the makeshift stage and the costumes. I overlooked these 3 books initially. I wonder what they are. Let's read the titles. The Picture of Monty Lecoq, Canterbury Yearnings, and A Meal for Gabbro. Wait, I'm sure I've heard those titles before. It could be just an incredible coincidence, but they're the exact same 3 books Mr. Natsume purchased the other day. What? Yes, on the day of the unfortunate incident. And now those 3 titles are here in the room of the victim. Yet Mr. Natsume claims he never to have been here before. What does this mean, do you think? I really don't know what to make of it.
Take that!
Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the pile of familiar books. Quite so. It's no mere coincidence that these 3 titles are here in this room. It's the link to the truth. Mr. Natsume, you purchased these books 4 days ago at a second-hand bookshop. That's just coincidence. In that case, you will be able to bring the same 3 titles from your own room, will you not? This very moment. No! Never! None! Negotiable! If you can't bring your own copies here, then it proves these 3 books are in fact yours. Having purchased the books 4 days ago and returning to your lodgings, you were arrested the very next day. So you could conceivably have brought the books here on that evening, but you never mentioned that. In other words, you could only have brought these 3 books here to the victim's room. Last night, having returned to your lodgings after the trial concluded at the Old Bailey. Ah! In short, there's only one possible conclusion. The victim died in this room last night as a result of poisoning. And that same night, the victim had a visitor. And that visitor... was you, Mr. Sasuke Natsume. I feel like he's so fed up with Sholmes right now. Thus concludes the final act of Herlock Sholmes' great deduction. Elementary. I don't know what that means, but okay. Sure. Sure. Ah! Not again, not again, not again! Not again! Well then, Mr. Natsume. It appears you're going to have to accompany me down to the yard again. Oh, I lost his accent. But wait! Hold your horses! Yes? Door! Key! Locked! Entry! Exit! Entirely impossible! He's so flustered, he's being even stranger than normal. What do you think? That's an alibi? You could have just made a copy. What? You live in the same building after all. You'd have plenty of opportunity, I'm sure. But Mr. Misery Me! Sorry, sir. You'll get a chance to give us out of the story later. The facts speak for themselves, Mr. Mustache. You horrible Herlock Sholmes! He really has found himself an arch rival now, hasn't he? Come on now, you dilly-dallying outside. There's a carriage waiting. Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. I never imagined I'd be in this position again, but you have to help me, please, please. I'm innocent. All right, I understand. We'll come to your cell later and talk about it. One more thing. Oh, yes? My poor little kitty cat. Please give him breakfast for me. And so, his evil curse still apparently unbroken, Sasuke-san found himself once again the prime suspect in a case of murder. Thanks to the incriminating deduction of the great detective. I think that was me. He had you cleared. My dear fellow, that honor belongs to you. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Ah! Well, at least this means Inspector Gregson is no longer here. We can examine the crime scene in more detail now. Yes, that's right. Ah, and of course. What? Have you forgotten what the inspector mentioned before? It was the landlord, Mr. Garadeb, who discovered Mr. Shamspear. Ah, Mr. Garadeb, yes. I suspect we can find him in the sitting room on top of the floor as usual. Right. We must remember to go and talk to him later then. Save a rat so far. Alright, we are in part 2 as I suspected, so we shall resume next time.